Audiobooks presents The Way of Peace by James Allen. Prologue, The Way of Peace. Dear listener, prepare to embark on a journey of introspection and transformation. This work, a timeless jewel of personal growth thought, offers you the keys to unveil the peace that resides within you. James Allen, with his serene and penetrating prose, guides us beyond the distractions of the outside world directly to the garden of our own mind. Here you will learn that true happiness and lasting prosperity are not external prizes, but the natural fruits of a clear and disciplined consciousness. Have you ever wondered why peace seems like such an elusive state? Allen reveals to us that the path to it is not a destination, but a trail that is traveled day by day, with every thought, action, and elevated purpose. It is an invitation to mental purification, to self-mastery, and to the constant practice of compassion. If you yearn for a deeper, more conscious life and one in harmony with your spirit, if you wish to overcome the difficulties that arise from ignorance and weakness, if you seek the wisdom and strength to conquer those elevated places that await you, then this audiobook is for you. Begin now the journey that will take you from passion to serenity. Discover the power of spiritual meditation, and know that you can enter that happy world here and now. For, as the ancient wisdom affirms, the kingdom of God is within you. Listen attentively, and may peace begin. Chapter 1. The Power of Meditation. Spiritual meditation is the pathway to the divinity. It is the mystic ladder that goes from earth to heaven, from error to truth, from pain to peace. Every saint has climbed it. Every sinner must sooner or later come to it. And every weary pilgrim who turns his back upon the self and the world, and sets his face resolutely towards the Father's home, must plant his feet upon its golden rounds. Without its aid, you cannot grow into the divine state, the divine likeness, the divine peace. The unfading glories and the unsullied joys of the truth will remain hidden from you. Meditation is the intense dwelling in thought upon an idea or subject with the object of fully understanding it. Everything you constantly meditate upon, you will not only come to understand, but you will grow more and more into its likeness, because it will become incorporated with your very being. It will, in fact, become your very being. Therefore, if you constantly dwell upon that which is selfish and degrading, you will ultimately become selfish and degraded. If you ceaselessly think upon that which is pure and unselfish, you will surely become pure and unselfish. Tell me upon what you most frequently and intensely think. Tell me to what, in your silent hours, your soul most naturally turns, and I will tell you to what place of pain or peace you are traveling, and whether you are growing into the likeness of the divine or of the beast. There is an inevitable tendency to become literally the embodiment of that quality upon which one most constantly dwells in thought. Therefore, let the object of your meditation be above and not below, so that every time you return to it in thought, you shall be elevated. Let it be pure and unmixed with any selfish element. Thus, your heart will become purified and draw nearer to the truth, and will not become defiled and dragged more hopelessly to error. Meditation, in the spiritual sense in which I am now using it, is the secret of all growth in spiritual life and knowledge. All the prophets, sages, and saviors became such by the power of meditation. Buddha meditated upon the truth until he could say, "I am the truth." Jesus meditated upon the divine immanence until at last he could declare, "I and my Father are one." Meditation, centered upon divine realities, is the very essence and soul of prayer. It is the silent reaching out of the soul toward the eternal. Mere petitionary prayer without meditation is a body without a soul, and is powerless to lift the mind and heart above sin and sorrow. If you pray daily for wisdom, for peace, for higher purity, and fuller realization of the truth, and that for which you pray still remains far from you, it signifies that you are praying for one thing while you are living in thought and act another. If you cease from being thus double-minded, turning your mind away from those things whose selfish clinging prevents you from the possession of the stainless realities for which you pray. If you no longer ask God to grant you that which you do not merit, or to bestow upon you that love and compassion which you refuse to bestow upon others, but begin to think and act in the spirit of the truth, day by day you will grow into those realities, so that you will finally become one with them. He who would obtain any worldly advantage must be willing to work vigorously for its achievement, and he would indeed be a fool who, waiting with folded hands, should expect it to come to him by merely asking for it. Therefore, do not vainly imagine that you can obtain heavenly possessions without making an effort. Only when you begin to work earnestly in the kingdom of truth will you be permitted to partake of the bread of life. And when you have earned, by patient and unremitting effort, the spiritual wages for which you ask, they shall not be withheld. If you are truly seeking the truth, and not merely your own gratification, if you love it above all worldly pleasures and gains, yes, even more than happiness itself, you will be willing to put forth the effort necessary for its achievement. If you would be free from sin and sorrow, if you would taste that unsullied purity for which you sigh and pray, if you would realize wisdom and knowledge, and enter into the possession of a deep and abiding peace, come now and enter the way of meditation, and let the supreme object of your meditation be the truth. Meditation must, in the beginning, be distinguished from idle daydreaming. There is nothing of dreaminess or unpracticality in it. It is a process of searching and unflinching thought that allows nothing to remain but the simple, naked truth. Thus, meditating, you will no longer strive to build yourself up in your prejudices, but, forgetting yourself, you will remember only that you are seeking the truth. You will thus remove, one by one, the errors you have built around yourself in the past, and will patiently await the revelation of the truth which will come when your errors have been sufficiently removed. In the silent humility of your heart you will realize that there is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness, and around, wall upon wall, the gross flesh hems it in, this perfect, clear perception, which is truth, a baffling and perverting carnal mesh blinds it and makes all error, and to know rather consists in opening out a way whence the imprisoned splendor may escape, than in effecting entry for a light supposed to be without. Choose a time of the day for meditation, and keep that period sacred to your purpose. The best time is the early morning, when the spirit of repose rests upon all things. All natural conditions will then be in your favor. The passions, after the long bodily fast of the night, will be subdued. The excitements and worries of the previous day will have disappeared, and the mind, strong and yet rested, will be receptive to spiritual instruction. Indeed, one of the first efforts you will have to make will be to shake off sluggishness and indulgence, and if you refuse to do so, you will be unable to advance, for the demands of the spirit are imperative. To be spiritually awake is also to be mentally and physically awake. The lazy and the self-indulgent cannot have knowledge of the truth. He who, possessing health and strength, wastes the quiet, precious hours of the silent morning in drowsy indulgence, is utterly unfit to climb the celestial heights. He whose awakened consciousness has become alive to his elevated possibilities, who is beginning to shake off the darkness of ignorance in which the world is enveloped, rises before the stars have ceased their vigil, and, wrestling with the darkness within his soul, he strives, by holy aspiration, to perceive the light of truth while the unawakened world dreams on. The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. No saint, no holy man, no teacher of the truth ever lived who did not rise early in the morning. Jesus was habitually an early riser, and went up into the solitary mountains to engage in holy communion. Buddha invariably rose 1 hour before sunrise and devoted himself to meditation, and all his disciples were commanded to do likewise. If you have to commence your daily duties at a very early hour, and are therefore prevented from devoting the early morning to systematic meditation, try to devote an hour at night. If this, by the length and laboriousness of your daily task, is denied you, you need not despair, because you can direct your thoughts to holy meditation in the intervals of your work, or in those few idle minutes which you now waste in aimlessness. If your work is of that class which becomes automatic by practice, you can meditate while engaged in it. That eminent Christian saint and philosopher, Jacob Boehme, realized his vast knowledge of divine things while working long hours as a shoemaker. In every life there is time to think, and the busiest, the most laborious, is not excluded from aspiration and meditation. Spiritual meditation and self-discipline are inseparable. Therefore, you will begin to meditate upon yourself, to try and understand yourself. For remember, the great object you will have in view will be the complete elimination of all your errors so that you may realize the truth. You will begin to question your motives, thoughts, and acts, comparing them with your ideal, and endeavoring to look at them with a calm and impartial eye. In this way, you will continually gain more of that mental and spiritual equipoise without which men are but helpless straws upon the ocean of life. If you are given to hatred or anger, you will meditate upon gentleness and forgiveness, so that you will become keenly conscious of your harsh and foolish conduct. You will then commence to dwell on thoughts of love, of gentleness, of abounding forgiveness, and as you overcome the lower by the higher, gradually, silently, a knowledge of the divine law of love will be ushered into your heart, with an understanding of its relation to all the complexities of life and conduct. By applying this knowledge to every one of your thoughts, words, and acts, you will grow ever more gentle, more loving, more divine. And so with every error, every selfish desire, every human weakness, by the power of meditation it is overcome, and as every sin, every error is expelled, a fuller and clearer measure of the light of truth illuminates the pilgrim soul. Thus meditating, you will incessantly strengthen yourself against your one real enemy, your selfish and perishable self, and will establish yourself ever more firmly in the divine and imperishable self which is inseparable from the truth. The direct result of your meditations will be a quiet and spiritual strength which will be your stay and resting place in the struggle of life. Great is the overcoming power of holy thought, and the strength and knowledge gained in the hour of silent meditation will enrich the soul with a saving memory in the hour of strife, sorrow, or temptation. As, by the power of meditation, you grow in wisdom, you will more and more renounce your selfish desires, which are fickle, impermanent, and productive of sorrow and pain. You will take your stand with increasing firmness and confidence upon unchangeable principles and realize the heavenly rest. The use of meditation is the acquisition of a knowledge of eternal principles, and the power that results from meditation is the ability to rest upon and trust in those principles, and so become one with the eternal. The end of meditation is, therefore, the direct knowledge of the truth, of God, and the realization of deep divine peace. Let your meditation spring from the ethical ground you now occupy. Remember that you must grow into the truth by constant perseverance. If you are an Orthodox Christian, ceaselessly meditate upon the unsullied purity and divine excellence of the character of Jesus, and apply all his precepts to your inner life and outer conduct, so as to grow nearer and nearer to his perfection. Be not like those religious ones who, refusing to meditate upon the law of truth and to put into practice the precepts given them by their master, are content with formal worship, with clinging to their particular creeds, and with continuing in the ceaseless round of sin and suffering. Strive to rise, by the power of meditation, above all selfish clinging to partial gods or party creeds, above dead formalities and lifeless ignorance, thus walking the elevated way of wisdom, with your mind fixed upon the immaculate truth. You will know no stopping place short of the realization of the truth. He who seriously meditates first perceives a truth, as it were, afar off, and then realizes it by daily practice. Only the doer of the word of truth can know the doctrine of the truth, for though by pure thought the truth is perceived, it is only actualized by practice. The divine Gautama, the Buddha, said, "He who gives himself up to vanity and does not devote himself to meditation, forgetting the real aim of life and clinging to pleasure, will in time envy him who has exerted himself in meditation." And he instructed his disciples in the following 5 great meditations. The first meditation is the meditation of love, in which you adjust your heart to an earnest longing for the welfare of all beings, including the happiness of your enemies. The second meditation is the meditation of pity, in which you think of all beings in distress, vividly representing in your imagination their sorrows and anxieties, so as to arouse in your soul a deep compassion for them. The third meditation is the meditation of joy, in which you think of the prosperity of others and rejoice with their joys. The fourth meditation is the meditation of impurity, in which you consider the evil consequences of corruption, the effects of sin, and the diseases, how trivial is often the pleasure of the moment, and how fatal its consequences. The fifth meditation is the meditation of serenity, in which you rise above love and hatred, tyranny and oppression, wealth and want, and regard your own fate with an impartial calm and a perfect tranquility. By performing these meditations, the disciples of Buddha came to the knowledge of the truth. But whether you devote yourself to these particular meditations or not, matters little so long as your object is the truth, so long as you hunger and thirst after that righteousness which is a holy heart and a blameless life. In your meditations, therefore, let your heart grow and expand with an ever-widening love, until, released from all hatred, passion, and condemnation, it embraces the whole universe with thoughtful tenderness. As the flower opens its petals to receive the morning light, so open your soul more and more to the glorious light of the truth. Spread the wings of aspiration. Be not afraid, and believe in the higher possibilities. Believe that a life of absolute meekness is possible. Believe that a life of unsullied purity is possible. Believe that a life of perfect holiness is possible. Believe that the realization of the highest truth is possible. He who thus believes rises rapidly to the heavenly hills, while the unbelieving still grope darkly and painfully in the mist-enshrouded valleys. Thus believing, thus aspiring, thus meditating, divinely sweet and beautiful shall be your spiritual experiences, and glorious the revelations which shall entrance your inner vision. As you realize the divine love, the divine justice, the divine purity, the perfect law of good, or God, great shall be your bliss and profound your peace. Old things shall pass away, and all things shall become new. The veil of the material universe, so dense and impenetrable to the eye of error, so thin and diffusive to the eye of truth, shall be lifted, and the spiritual universe shall be revealed. Time shall cease, and you shall live in the eternity alone. Change and mortality shall no longer cause you anxiety and sorrow, because you shall become established in the unchangeable, and dwell in the very heart of immortality. Star of Wisdom. Star of the birth of Vishnu, birth of Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, the wise men told, gazing heavenward, waiting, watching for your shining in the blackness of the night. In the starless gloom of midnight, luminous herald of the coming of the kingdom of the righteous, teller of the mystic story of divinity's humble birth, in the stable of the passions, in the manger of the mind-soul, silent singer of the secret of deep and holy compassion, to the sorrow-laden heart, to the soul with watching weary, star of unsurpassed brilliance, you again adorn the midnight. You again make glad the wise men who keep vigil in the darkness of the creed, weary of the endless battle with the blades of error, weary of the useless, lifeless idols, of the dead forms of religions, weary with their watching for your shining. You have put an end to their despair. You have lightened up their pathway. You have brought the old truths back again to the hearts of all your watchers. To the souls of those who love you, you speak of joy and gladness, of the peace that comes from pain. Blessed are they who can behold you, the weary wanderers of the night. Blessed are they who feel the throbbing, in their breasts feel the pulsing of a deep love stirred within them by the great power of your shining. Let us truly learn your lesson. Learn it faithfully and humbly. Learn it meekly, wisely, gladly, ancient star of holy Vishnu, light of Krishna, Buddha, Jesus. Chapter 2. The Two Masters, the Self and the Truth. On the battlefield of the human soul, two masters are always striving for the crown of supremacy, the kingship and domain of the heart, the master of the self, called also the prince of this world, and the master of the truth, called also the Father God. The master of the self is that rebel whose weapons are passion, pride, covetousness, vanity, self-will, the instruments of darkness. The master of the truth is that meek and humble one whose weapons are meekness, patience, purity, sacrifice, lowliness, love, the instruments of light. In every soul the battle is waged, and as a soldier cannot be engaged in two opposing armies at once, so every heart enlists in the ranks of either the self or the truth. There is no middle way. There is the self, and there is the truth. Where the self is, the truth is not. Where the truth is, the self is not. Thus spoke Buddha, the teacher of the truth, and Jesus, the manifested Christ, declared that no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. The truth is so simple, so absolutely inviolable and inflexible that it admits of no complexity, no turning, no qualification. The self is ingenious, crooked, and governed by subtle serpentine desire. It admits of endless turnings and qualifications, and the deluded worshippers of the self vainly imagine that they can gratify every worldly desire, and at the same time possess the truth. But the lovers of the truth worship the truth with the sacrifice of the self, and unceasingly guard themselves against worldliness and self-seeking. Do you seek to know and realize the truth? Then you must be prepared for sacrifice, for utmost renunciation, because the truth in all its glory can only be perceived and known when the last vestige of the self has passed away. the eternal Christ declared that he who would be his disciple must deny himself daily. Are you willing to deny yourself, to give up your lusts, your prejudices, your opinions? If so, you may enter the narrow way of the truth and find that peace from which the world is shut out. The absolute denial, the complete extinction of the self, is the perfect state of the truth, and all religions and philosophies are but so many aids to this supreme achievement. The self is the denial of the truth. The truth is the denial of the self. When you let the self die, you will be reborn into the truth. While you cling to the self, the truth will be hidden from you. While you cling to the self, your path will be beset with difficulties, and repeated pains, sorrows, and disappointments will be your lot. There are no difficulties in the truth, and coming to the truth you will be freed from all sorrow and disappointment. The truth itself is not hidden and obscure. It is ever revealed and perfectly transparent, but the blind and wayward self cannot perceive it. The light of day is not hidden save from the blind, and the light of the truth is not hidden save from those who are blinded by the self. The truth is the one reality in the universe, the inner harmony, the perfect justice, the eternal love. Nothing can be added to it nor taken from it. It is dependent upon no man, but all men are dependent upon it. You cannot perceive the beauty of the truth while you look through the eyes of the self. If you are vain, you will color everything with your own vanities. If you are lustful, your heart and mind will be so clouded with the smoke and flame of passion that everything will appear distorted through them. If you are proud and opinionated, you will see nothing in all the universe but the magnitude and importance of your own opinions. There is one quality which preeminently distinguishes the man of the truth from the man of the self, and that is humility. To be not only free from vanity, self-will, and self-seeking, but to look upon one's own opinions as valueless. This is indeed true humility. He who is immersed in the self regards his own opinions as the truth, and the opinions of other men as error. But that humble lover of the truth, who has learned to distinguish between opinion and truth, looks upon all men with the eye of charity, and seeks not to defend his opinions against theirs, but sacrifices those opinions that he may love more, that he may manifest the spirit of the truth. For the truth in its own nature is ineffable and can only be lived. He who has the most charity has the most truth. Men engage in heated controversies and foolishly imagine they are defending the truth, when they are only defending their own petty interests and perishing opinions. The self-seeker rises up in arms against others. The truth-seeker rises up in arms against himself. The truth, being unchangeable and eternal, is independent of your opinion and mine. We may enter into it or stay outside, but both our defense and our attack are superfluous, and are hurled back upon ourselves, men, enslaved by the self, passionate, proud, and condemnatory, believe that their particular creed or religion is the truth, and that all other religions are error. They proselytize with passionate ardor. There is but one religion, the religion of the truth. There is but one error, the error of the self. The truth is not a formal belief. It is an unselfish, holy, aspiring heart, and he who has the truth is at peace with all, and cherishes all with thoughts of love. You may easily know whether you are a child of the truth or a worshiper of the self, if you silently examine your mind, heart, and conduct. Do you harbor thoughts of suspicion, enmity, envy, lust, pride, or do you energetically strive against them? If the former, you are bound to the self, no matter what religion you profess. If the latter, you are a candidate for the truth, though you outwardly profess no religion. Are you passionate, self-willed, ever seeking to gain your own ends, self-indulgent and self-centered, or are you gentle, meek, unselfish, relinquishing all form of self-indulgence and ever willing to yield up your own? If the former, the self is your master. If the latter, the truth is the object of your affection. Do you strive for riches? Do you struggle with passion for your party? Do you desire power and leadership? Are you given to self-display and self-praise? Or have you renounced the love of riches? Have you given up all striving? Are you content to take the lowest seat and to pass unnoticed? And have you ceased to talk of yourself and to regard yourself with self-complacent pride? If the former, though you imagine you worship God, the God of your heart is the self. If the latter, though you withhold the adoration of your lips, you are dwelling with the Most High. The signs by which the lover of the truth is known are unmistakable. Here the holy Krishna declare them in Sir Edwin Arnold's beautiful rendering of the Bhagavad Gita. Fearlessness, singleness of soul, the will always to strive for wisdom, open hand and governed appetites, and piety and love of lonely study, humbleness, uprightness, heed to injure not which lives, truthfulness, slowness unto wrath, a mind which lightly letteth go what others prize, and equanimity, and charity, which seeketh zero's fault, and tenderness towards all that suffer. A contented heart, humility, modesty, gravity, nobly mixed manhood, patience, fortitude, and purity. A spirit unrevengeful, never given to overweening self-regard. These signs, O Prince Indian, mark the man whose feet are set on that fair path which leads to heavenly birth. When men, lost in the crooked paths of error and the self, have forgotten the heavenly birth, the state of holiness and truth, they set up artificial standards by which to judge others, and make the acceptance of and adherence to their own particular theology the test of the truth. Thus men are divided against each other, and there is unceasing enmity and strife and endless sorrow and suffering. Reader, do you seek to realize the birth into the truth? There is but one way: let the self die. All those lusts, appetites, desires, opinions, limited conceptions, and prejudices to which you have hitherto so tenaciously clung, let them drop away from you. Let them hold you in bondage no longer, and the truth will be yours. Cease to regard your own religion as superior to all others, and strive humbly to learn the supreme lesson of charity. No longer cling to the idea, so productive of strife and sorrow, that the Savior you worship is the only Savior, and that the Savior your brother worships with equal sincerity and ardor is an impostor. But seek diligently the path of holiness, and you will then realize that every holy man is a savior of mankind. The renunciation of the self is not merely the renunciation of outward things. It consists in the renunciation of the inner sin, the inner error. The truth is not found by giving up vain vestments, not by giving up riches, not by abstaining from certain foods, not by speaking soft words, not by merely doing these things, but by renouncing the spirit of vanity, by renouncing the desire for riches, by abstaining from the lust of self-indulgence, by renouncing all hatred, contention, condemnation, and self-seeking, and becoming gentle and pure in heart. By doing these things the truth is found. To do the former and not to do the latter is Pharisaism and hypocrisy, while the latter includes the former. You may renounce the outer world and isolate yourself in a cave or in the depths of a forest, but you will take all your self-seeking with you, and unless you renounce that, great indeed will be your wretchedness and deep your delusion. You may remain just where you are, fulfilling all your duties, and yet renounce the world, the inner enemy. To be in the world and yet not of the world is the highest perfection, the most blessed peace. It is to achieve the greatest victory. The renunciation of the self is, therefore, the way of the truth. Enter the path. There is no grief like hate, no pain like passion, no deceit like sense. Enter the path. Far hath he gone whose foot treads down one loving offense. As you succeed in overcoming the self, you will begin to see things in their right relations. He who is swayed by any passion, prejudice, like or dislike, adjusts everything to that particular bias and only sees his own delusions. He who is absolutely free from all passion, prejudice, preference, and partiality sees himself as he is. He sees others as they are. He sees all things in their proper proportions and in their right relations. Having nothing to attack, nothing to defend, nothing to conceal, and no interest to protect, he is at peace. He has realized the profound simplicity of the truth. For this impartial, tranquil, and blessed state of mind and heart is the state of the truth. He who attains it dwells with the angels and sits at the foot of the Supreme, knowing the great law, knowing the origin of sorrow, knowing the secret of suffering, knowing the way of emancipation into the truth. How can such a one become involved in strife or condemnation? For though he knows that the blind, selfish world, surrounded by the clouds of its own illusions, and enveloped in the darkness of error and the self, cannot perceive the steadfast light of the truth, and is utterly unable to comprehend the profound simplicity of the heart that has died. Yet he also knows that when the ages of suffering shall have piled up mountains of grief, the world's crushed and burdened soul will fly to its ultimate refuge, and that when the ages are complete, every prodigal will return to the fold of the truth. Thus he dwells in goodwill toward all, and looks upon all with that tender compassion which a father bestows upon his wayward children. Men cannot comprehend the truth because they cling to the self, because they believe in and love the self, because they believe the self to be the only reality, when it is the one delusion. When they cease to believe and love the self, they will relinquish it and fly to the truth, and find the eternal reality. When men become intoxicated with the wines of luxury, pleasure, and vanity, the thirst for life grows and deepens within them, and they delude themselves with dreams of carnal immortality. But when they come to reap the harvest of their own sowing, and pain and sorrow supervene, then crushed and humbled, renouncing the self and all the intoxications of the self, they come with sorrowing heart to the one immortality, the immortality that destroys all delusions, the spiritual immortality in the truth. Men pass from evil to good, from the self to the truth, through the dark door of pain, for pain and the self are inseparable. All sorrow is overcome only in the peace and bliss of the truth. If you suffer disappointment because your cherished plans have been frustrated, or because someone has fallen short of your expectations, it is because you are clinging to the self. If you suffer remorse for your conduct, it is because you have yielded to the self. If you are overwhelmed with vexation and regret because of the attitude of another toward you, it is because you have been cherishing the self. If you are hurt by what has been done to you or said of you, it is because you are walking the painful path of the self. All suffering is from the self. All suffering ends in the truth. When you have entered into and realized the truth, you will no longer suffer disappointments, remorses, and regrets, and pain will flee from you. The self is the only prison that can ever bind the soul. Truth is the only angel who can bid the gates unroll. And when he comes to call you, rise up and follow fast. His way may be through darkness, but it leads to light at last. The sorrow of the world is of its own sowing. Sorrow purifies and deepens the soul, and the extremity of pain is the prelude to the truth. Have you suffered much? Have you grieved deeply? Have you reflected earnestly upon the problem of life? If so, you are prepared to wage war against the self and become a disciple of the truth. The intellectual, who see no necessity for the renunciation of the self, elaborate endless theories concerning the universe, and call them truth. But follow that straight line of conduct which is the practice of righteousness, and you will realize the truth which has no place in theory and which never changes. Cultivate your heart, water it continually with unselfish love and deep pity, and strive to put away from it all thoughts and feelings that are not in accordance with love. Render good for evil, love for hate, sweetness for ill usage, and be silent when assailed. Thus will you transmute all your selfish desires into the pure gold of love, and the self will disappear in the truth. Thus will you walk blamelessly among men, yoked with the easy yoke of humility, and clothed with the divine garment of lowliness. Oh, come, weary brother, your struggle and straining ends in the heart of the Master of Truth. Through the sad wilderness of the self, why aren't you straining thirsty for life-giving waters of truth, when here, by the path of your striving and sinning, flows the glad stream of life, lies the green oasis of love? Come, turn and find rest. Know the ending and beginning, the sought and the seeker, the seer and the seen. Your Master sits not on the mountains inaccessible, nor dwells in the mirage that floats on the air, nor will you discover his magical fountains on the sand paths that circle around despair. In the dark wilderness of the self, cease from searching wearily the fragrant trail of your King's feet. And if you would hear the sweet sound of his word, make yourself deaf to all voices that sing empty. Flee from the places that fade. Give up all you have. Leave all you love, and, naked and bare, draw near to the shrine of the innermost caste. The highest, the holiest, the unchangeable is there. Within, in the heart of the silence he dwells. Leave sorrow and sin. Leave your painful wandering. Come bathe in his joy while he, whispering, tells your soul what it seeks, and you wander no more. Then cease, weary brother, your struggle and straining. Find peace in the heart of the Master of Truth. Through the dark wilderness of the self, cease from straining wearily. Come, drink at the beautiful waters of truth. Chapter 3. The Acquisition of Spiritual Power. The world is full of men and women who seek pleasure, excitement, novelty, who are ever looking to be moved to laughter or to tears, who seek not for strength, stability, and power, but court weakness, and are eagerly devoted to scattering the power they have. Men and women of true power and influence are few, because few are willing to make the necessary sacrifice for power's acquisition, and fewer still are willing to patiently build up character. To be swayed by your fluctuating thoughts and impulses is to be weak and powerless. To control and rightly direct those forces is to be strong and powerful. Men of strong animal passions have much of the ferocity of the beast, but this is not power. The elements of power are there, but only when this ferocity is tamed and subdued by the higher intelligence does true power begin. Men can only grow in power by awakening to higher and higher states of intelligence and consciousness. The difference between a weak and a powerful man lies not in the strength of personal will, for the self-willed man is often weak and foolish, but in that focus of consciousness which represents his states of knowledge. The pleasure seekers, the lovers of excitement, the hunters of novelty, and the victims of impulse and hysterical emotion, lack that knowledge of principles which gives poise, stability, and influence. A man begins to develop his power when, curbing his selfish impulses and inclinations, He falls back upon the higher, calmer consciousness within him and begins to establish himself upon principle. The realization of unchangeable principles in consciousness is both the source and the secret of the highest power. When, after much seeking, suffering, and sacrifice, the light of an eternal principle dawns upon the soul, a divine calm ensues, and an unspeakable joy gladdens the heart. He who has realized such a principle ceases to wander and stands firm and self-possessed. He ceases to be a slave of passion and becomes a master builder in the temple of destiny. The man who is ruled by the self and not by a principle changes front when his selfish comforts are menaced. Deeply resolved to defend and protect his own interests, he considers all means lawful which serve to that end. He is continually scheming how he may protect himself from his enemies, being too self-centered to perceive that he himself is his own enemy. The work of such a man crumbles away because it is divorced from truth and power. All effort that is based upon the self perishes. Only the work which is built upon an indestructible principle endures. The man who rests upon a principle is the same tranquil, fearless, self-possessed man under all circumstances. When the hour of trial comes, and he has to decide between his personal comforts and the truth, he renounces his comforts and stands firm. Not even the prospect of torture and death can alter or dissuade him. The man of the self regards the loss of his wealth, his comforts, or his life as the greatest calamities that can befall him. The man of principle regards these incidents as comparatively insignificant, and as not to be compared with the loss of character, the loss of the truth. To abandon the truth is, to him, the only event that can truly be called a calamity. It is the hour of crisis that decides who are the followers of darkness and who are the children of the light. It is the time of threatened disaster, ruin, and persecution that divides the sheep from the goats, and reveals to the reverent gaze of succeeding ages the men and women of power. It is easy for a man, so long as he is left in the enjoyment of his possessions, to persuade himself that he believes in and adheres to the principles of peace, brotherhood, and universal love. But if, when his enjoyments are threatened, or he imagines they are threatened, he begins to clamor loudly for war, he demonstrates that he believes in and rests upon, not peace, brotherhood, and love, but strife, self-seeking, and hatred. He who will not forsake his principles when threatened with the loss of all earthly things, even with the loss of reputation and of life, is the man of power. He is the man whose word and work endure. He is the man whom the afterworld honors, reverences, and adores. Rather than forsake the principle of divine love upon which he rested, and in which all his confidence was placed, Jesus bore the utmost agony and privation, and today the world bows at his pierced feet in rapt adoration. There's no way to the acquisition of spiritual power except by that inner illumination which is the realization of spiritual principles. Those principles can only be realized by constant practice and application. Take the principle of divine love and meditate upon it quietly and diligently with the object of coming to a profound understanding of it. Bring its searching light to bear upon all your habits, your actions, your speech, and dealings with others, every one of your secret thoughts and desires. As you persevere in this course, divine love will reveal itself to you more and more perfectly, and your own shortcomings will stand out in ever-vivid contrast, stimulating you to renewed effort. Once you have caught a glimpse of the incomparable majesty of that imperishable principle, you will never more rest in your weakness, your selfishness, your imperfection, but will pursue that love until you have renounced every discordant element and have brought yourself into perfect harmony with it. That state of inner harmony is spiritual power. Take also other spiritual principles, such as purity and compassion, and apply them in the same way. So exacting is the truth. You will be able to make no stay, no resting place, until the inmost garment of your soul is stripped of every stain, and your heart has become incapable of any harsh, condemnatory, and merciless impulse. Only in the measure that you understand, realize, and rest upon these principles will you acquire spiritual power, and that power will manifest itself in and through you in the form of increasing dispassion, patience, and equanimity. Dispassionateness argues a superior self-control. Sublime patience is the very hallmark of divine knowledge, and to retain an unbroken calm amid all the duties and distractions of life marks the man of power. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. But the great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. Some mystics hold that perfection in dispassionateness is the source of that power by which so-called miracles are wrought. Truly, he who has achieved such perfect control of all his inner forces that no shock, however great, can for a moment unbalance him, must be able to guide and direct those forces with a master hand. To grow in self-control, in patience, in equanimity, is to grow in strength and power. You can only thus grow by centering your consciousness upon a principle. As a child, after many vigorous attempts at walking unaided, at length succeeds, after numerous falls, in accomplishing it, so you must enter the path of power by first trying to stand alone. Break away from the tyranny of custom, of tradition, of conventionality, and of the opinions of others until you succeed in walking alone and upright amongst men. Trust your own judgment. Be true to your own conscience. Follow the light that is within you. All external lights are so many will-o'-the-wisps. There will be those who will tell you that you are foolish, that your judgment is faulty, that your conscience is wrong, and that the light within you is darkness. But heed them not. If what they say is true, the sooner you find it out, as a seeker for wisdom, the better, and you can only make the discovery by putting your powers to the test. Therefore, pursue your way with courage. Your conscience is at least yours, and to follow it is to be a man. To follow another's conscience is to be a slave. You will have many falls, you will sustain many bruises, you will bear many blows for a time. But press on in faith, believing that a sure and certain victory awaits you. Seek for a rock, a principle, and having found it, cling to it. Put it beneath your feet and stand upright upon it, until at last, unmovably fixed upon it, you succeed in defying the fury of the waves and the storms of self-seeking. For self-seeking in all its forms is dissipation, weakness, death. Unselfishness in its spiritual aspect is conservation, power, life. As you grow in the spiritual life and become established upon principles, you will grow as beautiful and unchangeable as those principles. You will taste the sweetness of their immortal essence, and realize the eternal and indestructible nature of the God within. No harmful shaft can reach the righteous man, erect amid the storms of hate, defying hurt and injury and ban, girt round by trembling slaves of fate, majestic in the might of silent power. Serene he stands, nor changes nor turns. Patient and firm in suffering's darkest hour, time bows to him, and death and doom he spurns. The lightnings of fierce anger play around, and the deep thunders of hell roll o'er his head. Yet he heeds not, for they cannot wound him who stands where earth and time and space have fled. Protected by immortal love, what fear has he? Armored in changeless truth, what can he know of loss and gain? Knowing eternity, he moves not while the shadows come and go. Call him immortal. Call him truth and light, and splendor of prophetic majesty, who thus stands forth amid the powers of night, clothed with the glory of divinity. Chapter 4. The Realization of Selfless Love. It is said that Michelangelo saw in every block of rough stone a thing of beauty, waiting for the master hand to bring it forth. In like manner, within everyone rests the divine image waiting for the master hand of faith and the chisel of patience to bring it into manifestation. That divine image is revealed and realized as stainless, selfless love. Hidden deep in every human heart, though often covered by a mass of hard and well-nigh impenetrable accretions, is the spirit of divine love, whose holy and unsullied essence is imperishable and eternal. It is the truth in man. It is that which pertains to the supreme, that which is real and immortal. Everything else changes and passes. This alone is permanent and unfading. To realize this love by ceaseless diligence in the practice of the highest righteousness, to live in it and to become fully conscious in it, is to enter into immortality here and now. It is to become one with the truth, one with God, one with the central heart of all things, and to know our own divine and eternal nature. To attain to this love, to comprehend and experience it, one must work with great persistence and diligence upon his heart and mind. One must ever renew his patience and keep his faith strong, for there will be much to remove, much to realize before the divine image is revealed in all its glorious beauty. He who strives to reach and realize the divine will be tried to the uttermost. This is absolutely necessary, for how else could that sublime patience be acquired without which there is no true wisdom, no divinity? From time to time, as he progresses, all his work will seem useless, and his efforts will appear to be thrown away. Every now and then a hasty touch will mar his image, and perhaps when he imagines his work is nearly completed, he will find what he imagined as the beautiful form of divine love utterly destroyed, and he will have to begin again with his past bitter experience to guide and aid him. But he who has resolutely set himself to realize the highest knows no such thing as defeat. All failures are apparent, not real. Every slip, every fall, every return to self-seeking is a lesson learned, an experience gained, from which a grain of golden wisdom is extracted, which aids the striver towards the realization of his elevated object. To realize that out of our vices we can build a ladder, if we will but tread beneath our feet each deed of shame, is to enter the pathway which leads unequivocally toward the divine. The very faults of him who thus realizes are so many dead selves, on which he rises as on stepping stones, to higher things, once you regard your failings, your sorrows, and sufferings as so many voices clearly telling you where you are weak and faulty, where you fall short of the true and the divine. You will then begin to watch yourself unceasingly. Every slip, every pang of sorrow will show you where you have to set to work, and what you have to remove from your heart to bring it nearer to the divine likeness, nearer to perfect love. As you progress, day by day shedding more and more of the inner self, the love that is selfless will unfold itself to you. When you grow in patience and calm, when your petulances, tempers, and irritabilities depart from you, and the more powerful lusts and prejudices cease to dominate and enslave you, then you will know that the divine is awakening within you. You are nearing the eternal heart. You are not far from that selfless love, the possession of which is peace and immortality. Divine love is distinguished from human loves in this supremely important particular. It is free from partiality. Human loves cling to a particular object to the exclusion of all else, and when that object is removed, Great and deep is the resultant suffering to the lover. Divine love embraces the whole universe and, clinging to no part, contains within itself the whole. He who reaches to it by purifying and enlarging his human loves gradually until all selfish and impure elements are burnt out of them, ceases from suffering. It is because human loves are narrow and confined and mixed with self-seeking that they cause suffering. No suffering can result from that love which is so absolutely pure that it seeks nothing for itself. Nevertheless, human loves are absolutely necessary as steps to the divine, and no soul is prepared to partake of divine love until it has become capable of the deepest and most intense human love. Only by passing through human loves and human sufferings is divine love reached and realized. All human loves are perishable like the forms to which they cling, but there is a love which is imperishable, and which clings not to appearances. All human loves are counteracted by human hates, but there is a love which admits of no opposition or reaction. Divine and free from every stain of self, it sheds its fragrance upon all alike. Human loves are reflections of the divine love, and bring the soul nearer to the reality, to the love which knows neither pain nor change. It is well that the mother, clinging with passionate tenderness to the tiny, helpless form of flesh that lies in her bosom, should be overwhelmed by the dark waters of sorrow when she sees it laid in the cold earth. It is well that her tears should flow and her heart be sore, for only thus can she be reminded of the evanescent nature of the joys and objects of sense, and brought nearer to the eternal, imperishable reality. It is well that the lover, the brother, the sister, the husband, and the wife should suffer deep anguish and be enveloped in darkness when the visible object of their affections is snatched from them, that they may learn to direct their affections to the invisible source of all, where alone permanent satisfaction is found. It is well that the proud, the ambitious, the self-seeking should suffer defeat, humiliation, and disgrace, that they should pass through the searing fire of affliction, for only thus can the wayward soul be brought to reflect upon the enigma of life. Only thus can the heart be softened and purified, and made ready to receive the truth. When the sting of anguish pierces the heart of human love, when gloom and loneliness and desolation cloud the soul of friendship and trust, then it is that the heart turns to the protecting love of the eternal, and finds rest in its silent peace. He who approaches this love is not repulsed without comfort, is not pierced with anguish or surrounded by gloom. He is never forsaken in the dark hour of trial. The glory of divine love can only be revealed in the sorrow-chastened heart, and the image of the heavenly state can only be perceived and realized when the lifeless and formless accumulations of ignorance and self have been stripped away. Only that love which seeks no personal gratification or reward, which makes no distinctions, and which leaves behind it no pain, can be called divine. Men, clinging to the self and the uneasy shadows of evil, are in the habit of thinking of divine love as something pertaining to a God who is outside their reach, as something which is outside them and must always remain outside. Truly, the love of God is always outside the reach of the self, but when the heart and mind are emptied of the self, then selfless love, the supreme love, the love which is of God or good, becomes an inner and permanent reality. This inner realization of holy love is none other than the love of Christ, which is so much talked of and so little understood. The love which not only saves the soul from sin, but lifts it up also above the power of temptation. But how can this sublime realization be reached? The answer which the truth has always given and will give to this question is, "Empty yourself, and I will fill you." Divine love cannot be known until the self is dead, For the self is the denial of love, and how can that which is known be denied? Not until the stone of self is rolled away from the sepulchre of the soul does the immortal Christ, the pure Spirit of love, heretofore crucified, dead, and buried, detach himself from the bonds of ignorance, and come forth in all the majesty of his resurrection. You believe that the Christ of Nazareth was killed and rose again. I do not say you are wrong in that belief. But if you refuse to believe that the gentle Spirit of love is daily crucified upon the dark cross of your selfish desires, then, I say, you are wrong in this unbelief, and you have not yet perceived, even afar off, the love of Christ. You say you have tasted salvation in the love of Christ. Are you saved from your temper, your irritability, your vanity, your personal dislikes, your judgment and condemnation of others? If not, what have you been saved from? And in what have you realized the transforming love of Christ? He who has realized the divine love has become a new man, and has ceased to be influenced and dominated by the old elements of the self. He is known by his patience, his purity, his self-control, his deep charity of heart, and his unalterable sweetness. Divine or selfless love is not a mere feeling or emotion. It is a state of knowledge which destroys the dominance of evil and the belief in evil, and lifts the soul into the joyous realization of the supreme good. To the divinely wise, knowledge and love are one and inseparable. It is toward the complete realization of this divine love that the whole world moves. It was for this purpose that the universe came into existence, and every clutching at happiness, every reaching out of the soul toward objects, ideas, and ideals is an effort to realize it. But the world does not realize this love at present because it clings to the fleeting shadow and ignores, in its blindness, the substance. Thus, suffering and pain continue and must continue until the world, taught by its self-inflicted sorrows, discovers the love that is selfless, the wisdom that is tranquil and full of peace. This love, this wisdom, this peace, this tranquil state of mind and heart can be attained, can be realized by all who are willing and prepared to renounce the self, and who are ready to enter humbly into the comprehension of all that self-renunciation involves. There is no arbitrary power in the universe, and the strongest chains of fate by which men are bound are forged by themselves. Men are bound to that which causes them suffering because they wish it, because they love their chains, because they think they're small. Dark prison of self is sweet and beautiful, and they fear that if they abandon that prison, they will lose all that is real and worth having. You suffer from yourselves. None else compels. None other holds you that ye live and die. The inner power that forged the chains and built around itself the dark, narrow prison can break when it desires and wills to do so. And the soul wills to do so when it has discovered the uselessness of its prison, when long suffering has prepared it for the reception of the boundless light and love. As the shadow follows the form, and as smoke comes after the fire, so effect follows cause, and suffering and bliss follow the thoughts and actions of men. There is no effect in the world around us but has its cause hidden or revealed, and that cause is in accordance with absolute justice. Men gather a harvest of suffering because in the past, near or far, they have sown the seeds of evil. They also gather a harvest of bliss as the result of their own sowing of the seeds of good. Let a man meditate upon this. Let him strive to comprehend it, and he will then begin to sow good seeds only, and will burn up the tares and weeds he has formerly cultivated in the garden of his heart. The world does not comprehend selfless love, because it is engrossed in the pursuit of its own pleasures, and encased in the narrow limits of perishable interests, confusing in its ignorance those pleasures and interests with things real and permanent, caught in the flames of carnal desires and burning with anguish. It does not see the pure and peaceful beauty of the truth. By feeding upon the husks of error and self-delusion, it is shut out from the mansion of all-seeing love. Not having this love, not understanding it, men institute numberless reforms which involve no inner sacrifice, and each one imagines his reform is going to put the world right forever, while he himself continues to propagate evil by harboring it in his own heart. That only can be called reform which tends to reform the human heart, for all evil originates there, and only when the world, putting away self-seeking and partisan strife, has learned the lesson of divine love, will it realize the golden age of universal blessedness. Let the rich cease from despising the poor, and the poor from condemning the rich. Let the covetous learn to give, and the lustful to become pure. Let the partisan cease from wrangling, and the uncharitable begin to forgive. Let the envious strive to rejoice with others, and the slanderers be ashamed of their conduct. Let men and women pursue this course, and behold, the golden age is near. He who purifies his own heart is the greatest benefactor of the world. Yet, though the world is, and will for many ages be, shut out from that golden age, which is the realization of selfless love, you, if you are willing, can enter into it now, by rising above your selfish self, by passing from prejudice, hatred, and condemnation to gentle, forgiving love. Where hatred, dislike, and condemnation are, selfless love dwells not. It only abides in the heart that has ceased from all condemnation. You say, "How can I love the drunkard, the hypocrite, the sneak, the murderer? I am compelled to abhor and condemn such men." It is true you cannot love such men emotionally, but when you say you must forcibly abhor and condemn them, you demonstrate that you do not know the great overruling, love. For it is possible to attain to such a state of inner enlightenment as to enable you to perceive the chain of causes by which such men have become what they are, to enter into their intense sufferings, and to know the certainty of their final purification. Possessing such knowledge, it will be utterly impossible for you to any longer abhor or condemn them, and you will always think of them with perfect calm and deep compassion. If you love people and speak of them with praise until they frustrate you in some way, or do something you disapprove of, and you then dislike them and speak of them with disparagement, you are not governed by the love that is of God. If, in your heart, you are continually railing at and condemning others, selfless love is hidden from you. He who knows that love is at the heart of all things, and has comprehended the all-embracing power of that love, has no room in his heart for condemnation. Men, not knowing this love, set themselves up as judge and executioner of their fellows, forgetting that there is the eternal judge and executioner. In the measure that men deviate from them in their own particular views, reforms, and methods, they brand them as fanatics, unbalanced, lacking in judgment, sincerity, and honesty. In the measure that others approximate to their own standard, they regard them as all that is admirable. Such are the men who are self-centered. But he whose heart is centered in the supreme love does not label and classify men. He does not seek to convert men to his own views. He does not convince them of the superiority of his methods. Knowing the law of love, he lives it, and maintains the same tranquil attitude of mind and sweetness of heart toward all. The degraded and the virtuous, the foolish and the wise, the cultured and the uncultured, the selfish and the unselfish, all alike receive the blessing of his quiet thought. This supreme knowledge, this divine love, can only be attained by unceasing self-discipline and by gaining victory after victory over oneself. Only the pure in heart see God, and when your heart is sufficiently purified, you will enter the new birth, and the love that does not die nor change, nor end in sorrow and pain will awaken within you, and you will be at peace. He who strives for divine love ever seeks to overcome the spirit of condemnation. For where there is pure spiritual knowledge, condemnation cannot exist, and only in the heart that has become incapable of condemnation is love perfected and fully realized. The Christian condemns the atheist. The atheist satirizes the Christian. Catholic and Protestant ceaselessly engage in a war of words, and the spirit of strife and hatred governs, where peace and love should rule. He who hates his brother is a murderer, a crucifier of the divine spirit of love, until you can regard men of all religions and of none with the same impartial spirit, with all freedom from dislike and with perfect equanimity. You have yet to strive for that love which bestows upon its possessor freedom and salvation. The realization of divine knowledge, selfless love, utterly destroys the spirit of condemnation, scatters all evil, and lifts the consciousness to that height of pure vision where love, goodness, justice are seen to be universal, supreme, omnipotent, indestructible. Train your mind in strong, impartial, and gentle thought. Train your heart in purity and compassion. Train your tongue in silence and in true and stainless speech. Thus will you enter the path of holiness and peace, and at last realize the immortal love. Thus living, not seeking to convert, you will convince. Not arguing, you will teach. Not cherishing ambition, the wise will discover you. Not striving to gain the opinion of men, you will subdue their hearts. For love is all-powerful, almighty, and the thoughts, works, and words of love can never perish. To know that love is universal, supreme, omnipotent, to be freed from the bondage of evil, to put away inner unrest, to know that all men are striving to realize the truth each in his own way, to be content, sorrowless, serene. This is peace. This is joy. This is immortality. This is divinity. This is the realization of selfless love. I stood upon the shore and saw the rocks resist the onset of the mighty sea. And as I thought how all the countless shocks they had withstood throughout eternity, I said, to wear away this solid stone, the waves' incessant efforts are in vain. But when I thought how they had rent the rocks and saw the sand and shingles at my feet, poor passive remnants of worn-out resistance, tossed and upturned where the waters meet, then saw I ancient landmarks neath the waves, and knew the waters held the stones as slaves. I saw the mighty work of waters done by patient softness and incessant flow, how they brought the proudest headland down to their feet, and massive hills laid low, how the soft drops conquered the adamantine wall, conquered at last, and brought it to its fall. And then I knew that the hard resistant sin should yield at last to love's soft, ceaseless roll which comes and goes, forever flowing over the proud rocks of the human soul, that all resistance must be worn away and past, and every heart submit to it at last. Entering the infinite. From the beginning of time, man, notwithstanding his bodily appetites and desires, in the midst of all his clinging to earthly and impermanent things, has ever been intuitively aware of the limited, transient, and illusory nature of his material existence. In his sane and silent moments, he has sought to reach to a comprehension of the infinite, and has turned with a heartbreaking aspiration towards the restful reality of the eternal heart. While he vainly imagines that the pleasures of earth are real and satisfying, pain and sorrow continually remind him of their unreal and unsatisfactory nature. While he strives to believe that complete satisfaction is to be found in material things, he is conscious of an inward, persistent rebellion against this belief, which is at once a refutation of his essential mortality and an inherent, imperishable proof that only in the immortal, the eternal, the infinite can he find permanent satisfaction and unbroken peace. And here is the common ground of faith. Here the root and spring of all religion. Here the soul of brotherhood and the heart of love, that man is essentially and spiritually divine and eternal, and that, immersed in mortality and troubled with unrest, he is ever striving to enter into the consciousness of his true nature. The spirit of man is inseparable from the infinite, and cannot be satisfied with anything short of the infinite, and the burden of sorrow will continue to press upon man's heart, and the shadows of grief darken his pathway until, ceasing to wander in the world of matter's dreams, he returns home to the reality of the eternal. As the smallest drop of water separated from the ocean contains all the qualities of the ocean, so man, separated in consciousness from the infinite, contains within himself its likeness, as the drop of water must, by the law of its nature, at last find its way back to the ocean and lose itself in its silent depths. So man, by the unerring law of his nature, must finally return to his source, and lose himself in the great ocean of the infinite. To become one with the infinite is the goal of man. To enter into perfect harmony with the eternal law is wisdom, love, and peace. But this divine state is, and must ever be, incomprehensible to the merely personal. Personality, separateness, and self-seeking are one and the same, and are the antithesis of wisdom and divinity. By the unconditional surrender of personality, separateness, and self-seeking cease, and man enters into possession of his divine inheritance of immortality and infinitude. Such surrender of personality is looked upon by the worldly and selfish mind as the greatest of all calamities, the most irreparable loss, yet it is the one supreme and incomparable blessing, the one real and enduring gain. The mind, unenlightened upon the inner laws of being, and upon the nature and destiny of its own life, clings to transient appearances, to things which have no lasting substantiality in them, and thus clinging, it perishes, for the time being, amongst the shattered wreckage of its own delusions. Men cling to the flesh and gratify it as though it were to last forever, and though they try to forget the near approach and the inevitableness of its dissolution, the fear of death and the loss of all to which they cling clouds their happiest hours, and the chilling shadow of their own self-seeking follows them like an unremitting specter. With the accumulation of temporary comforts and luxuries, the divinity within men becomes drugged, and they sink more and more into materiality, into the perishing life of the senses, and where there is sufficient intellect, theories concerning the immortality of the flesh come to be regarded as infallible truths. When a man's soul is clouded with self-seeking in any of its forms, he loses the power of spiritual discrimination, and confuses the temporary with the eternal, the perishable with the permanent, mortality with immortality, and error with the truth. It is thus that the world has become filled with theories and speculations which have no foundation in human experience. Every body of flesh contains within itself, from the hour of its birth, the elements of its own destruction, and by the unalterable law of its own nature it must pass away. The perishable in the universe can never become permanent. The permanent can never pass away. The mortal can never become immortal. The immortal can never die. The temporal cannot become eternal, nor the eternal temporal. Appearance can never become reality, nor reality fade into appearance. Error can never become truth, nor the truth become error. Man cannot immortalize the flesh, but by overcoming the flesh, By renouncing all its inclinations, he can enter into the region of immortality. God only hath immortality, and only by realizing the God state of consciousness does man enter into immortality. All nature in its countless forms of life is changeable, impermanent, non-enduring. Only the informing principle of nature endures. Nature is manifold and marked by separateness. The informing principle is one and marked by unity. By overcoming the senses and the inner self-seeking, which is the overcoming of nature, man emerges from the chrysalis of the personal and the illusory, and rises into the glorious light of the impersonal, the region of universal truth, from which all perishing forms proceed. Let men, therefore, practice self-denial. Let them conquer their animal inclinations. Let them refuse to be enslaved by luxury and pleasure. Let them practice virtue, and grow daily in an elevated and ever higher virtue, until at last they grow into divinity, and enter into both the practice and the comprehension of humility, meekness, forgiveness, compassion, and love, the practice and comprehension of which constitute divinity. Goodwill gives insight, and only he who has conquered his personality in such wise that he has but one attitude of mind, that of goodwill toward all creatures, possesses divine insight, and is able to distinguish the true from the false. The supremely good man is, therefore, the wise man, the divine man, the enlightened seer, the knower of the eternal, where you find an unbroken gentleness, an enduring patience, a sublime lowliness, a grace of speech, a self-control, a self-forgetfulness, and a deep and abundant sympathy. Look there for the highest wisdom. Seek the company of such a one, for he has realized the divine, lives with the eternal, has become one with the infinite. Do not believe him who is impatient, given to anger, self-praising, who clings to pleasure and refuses to renounce his selfish gratifications, and who does not practice goodwill and far-reaching compassion, for such a one has no wisdom. Vain is all his knowledge, and his works and words will perish, since they are based upon that which passes away. Let man surrender himself. Let him overcome the world. Let him renounce the personal. Only by this path can he enter the heart of the infinite. The world, the body, the personality, are mirages in the desert of time, transient dreams in the dark night of spiritual slumber, and those who have crossed the desert, those who are spiritually awake, are the only ones who have comprehended the universal reality, where all appearances are dispersed and dream and delusion are destroyed. There is a great law which demands unconditional obedience, a unifying principle which is the basis of all diversity, an eternal truth in which all problems of earth pass away as shadows. To realize this law, this unity, this truth, is to enter into the infinite, is to become one with the eternal. To center the life upon the great law of love is to enter into rest, harmony, peace. To cease from all participation in evil and in discord. To cease from resisting evil and omitting good, and to fall back upon the unwavering obedience to the inner holy calm, is to enter the innermost heart of things. It is to attain a living, conscious experience of that eternal and infinite principle which must ever remain a hidden mystery to the merely perceptive intellect. Until this principle is realized, the soul is not established in peace, and he who thus realizes it is truly wise. Not wise with the wisdom of the learned, but with the simplicity of an unblemished heart and a divine manhood. To enter into the realization of the infinite and the eternal is to rise above time, world, and body, which constitute the kingdom of darkness. It is to become established in immortality, heaven, and spirit, which constitute the empire of light. To enter into the infinite is not a mere theory or sentiment. It is a vital experience which is the outcome of assiduous practice in inner purification, when the body is no longer believed to be, even remotely, the real man. When all the appetites and desires are completely subdued and purified, when the emotions are rested and calmed, and when the oscillation of the intellect ceases and perfect poise is secured, then, and not till then, does the consciousness become one with the infinite. Not till then are the childlike wisdom and the profound peace secured. Men weary and grow gray over the dark problems of life, and at last pass away and leave them unsolved because they cannot see the way out of the darkness of personality, being too much engrossed in its limitations. Seeking to save his personal life, man loses the greater impersonal life in the truth. Clinging to the perishable, he shuts himself out from the knowledge of the eternal. By the surrender of self, all difficulties are overcome, and no air is in the universe but the fire of inner sacrifice will burn it up like chaff. No problem, however great, but will disappear like a shadow under the searching light of self-abnegation. Problems only exist in our own self-created illusions and vanish when the self is abandoned. The self and error are synonymous. Error is wrapped in the darkness of unfathomable complexity, but eternal simplicity is the glory of the truth. Love of self shuts men out from the truth, and seeking their own personal happiness they lose the deeper, purer, and more abiding bliss. Says Carlyle, "There is in man a higher than love of happiness. He can do without happiness and instead thereof find blessedness. Love not pleasure, love God. This is the everlasting ye, wherein all contradiction is solved, wherein whoso walks and works, it is well with him. He who has renounced that self, that personality which men most love, and to which they cling with such fierce tenacity, has left behind him all perplexity, and has entered into a simplicity so profoundly simple that the world, entangled as it is in a network of error, regards it as foolishness. Yet such a one has realized the highest wisdom and is at rest in the infinite. He achieves without striving, and all problems vanish before him, because he has entered the region of reality, and deals not with changing effects, but with the immutable principles of things. He is enlightened with a wisdom that is as superior to ratiocination as reason is to animality. Having renounced his lusts, his errors, his opinions, and prejudices, he has entered into possession of the knowledge of God. Having slain the selfish desire for heaven, and along with it the ignorant fear of hell, having renounced even the love of life itself, he has gained the supreme bliss and the eternal life, the life which unites life and death, and knows its own immortality. Having renounced all unreservedly, he has gained all, and rests in peace in the bosom of the infinite. Only he who has so liberated himself from self as to be as content to be annihilated as to live, or to live as to be annihilated, is fit to enter into the infinite. Only he who, ceasing to rely upon his perishable self, has learned to trust in illimitable measure in the great law, the supreme good, is prepared to partake of the imperishable bliss. For such a one there is no more lamentation, disappointment, or remorse, because where all self-seeking has ceased, these sufferings cannot exist. Whatever happens to him he knows is for his own good, and he is content, being no longer the servant of self, but the servant of the Supreme. He is no longer affected by the changes of earth, and when he hears of wars and rumors of wars, his peace is not disturbed. Where men rage and become cynical and contentious, he bestows compassion and love. Though appearances contradicted, he knows that the world progresses, and that, through its laughter and its weeping, through its living and its keeping, through its follies and its labors, weaving in and out of sight, to the end from the beginning. Through all virtue and all sinning, rolled from God's great reel of progress, runs the golden thread of light. When a fierce storm rages, no one is angry at it, because he knows it will speedily pass away. And when the storms of contention devastate the world, the wise man, looking with the eye of truth and pity, knows it will pass, and that from the wreckage of broken hearts which it leaves behind will be built the immortal temple of wisdom. Sublimely patient, infinitely compassionate, deep, silent, and pure, his very presence is a benediction. And when he speaks, men ponder his words in their hearts, and are lifted by them to higher planes of achievement. Such is he who has entered into the infinite, who by the power of utmost sacrifice has solved the sacred mystery of life. Questioning life, fate, and truth, I sought the dark, labyrinthine sphinx who spoke to me of this strange, marvelous thing. The hiding only dwells in blinded eyes, and only God can see the form of God. I sought to solve this mystery hidden vainly by paths of blindness and of pain. But when I found the way of love and peace, the hiding ceased, and I was blind no more. Then saw I God with the eyes of God. Chapter 5. Entering the Infinite. From the beginning of time, man, despite his bodily appetites and desires, in the midst of his attachment to all that is earthly and impermanent, has always been intuitively conscious of the limited, transitory, and illusory nature of his material existence, and in his moments of health and silence has attempted to reach the understanding of the infinite, and has turned, with tearful aspiration, toward the serene reality of the eternal heart. While he imagines in vain that earthly pleasures are real and satisfactory, pain and sorrow continually remind him of their unreal and unsatisfactory nature. In a perpetual struggle to believe that complete satisfaction is found in material things, he is conscious that he internally revolts against this belief, and his revolt is at the same time a refutation of his essential mortality and an undying proof that only in the immortal, in the eternal, and in the infinite can he find lasting satisfaction and continuous peace. And this is the common ground of faith, the root and source of all religion. These are the soul of brotherhood and the heart of love. Man is essentially and spiritually divine and eternal, and immersed in mortality and scourged by restlessness, always struggles to recover consciousness of his true nature. The spirit of man is inseparable from the infinite, and cannot feel satisfied with anything but the infinite. The burden of pain will continue to weigh upon his heart, and the shadows of sorrow will darken his path until, ceasing to wander in the dream world of matter, he returns to his home in the reality of the eternal. Just as the smallest drop of water separated from the sea contains all the qualities of the ocean, so man, separated in consciousness from the infinite, remains similar to it. And just as the drop of water must, by the law of its nature, finally find its way back to the ocean to be lost in its silent depths, so too must man, by the infallible law of his nature, at last return to his source and be lost in the great ocean of the infinite. To become one again with the infinite is the goal of the human being. To enter into perfect harmony with eternal law is wisdom, love, and peace. But this divine state is, and always must be, incomprehensible to the strictly personal. Personality, separation, and selfishness are the same, the antithesis of wisdom and divinity. By the unconditional surrender of personality, separation and selfishness cease, and man enters into possession of his divine inheritance of immortality and infinitude. The worldly and selfish mind considers this surrender of personality to be the worst of calamities, the most irreparable loss, and yet it is the supreme and incomparable blessing. the only lasting and real gain. The mind that is not enlightened regarding the inner laws of being, as well as the nature and destiny of its own life, clings to passing appearances, to things that possess no lasting substance, and in this way perishes for the moment in the shipwreck and sinking of its own illusions. Men cling to the flesh and gratify it as if it were to last forever, and although they try to forget the closeness and inevitability of its dissolution, the fear of death and the loss of all that they hold dear clouds their happiest hours, and the icy shadow of their own selfishness follows them like a relentless specter. With the accumulation of temporary comforts and luxuries, the divinity within them is drugged, and thus they sink deeper and deeper into materialism, into the perishable life of the senses. Where there is sufficient intellect, theories related to the immortality of the flesh come to be regarded as infallible truths. When a man's soul is clouded by selfishness in whatever form it takes, he loses the power of spiritual discrimination and confuses the temporary with the eternal, the perishable with the permanent, mortality with immortality, and error with truth. This is how the world has come to be filled with theories and speculations that are not based on human experience. Every body of flesh contains within itself, from the hour of its birth, the elements of its own destruction, and by the unalterable law of its nature, it must die. The perishable of the universe can never become permanent, nor the permanent pass away and be left behind. The mortal can never become immortal, nor the immortal die. The temporal cannot become eternal, nor the eternal become temporal. Appearance can never become reality, nor reality be lost in appearance. Error can never become truth, nor truth become error. Man is not capable of immortalizing the flesh, but by overcoming it, renouncing all its inclinations, he can enter the region of immortality. God alone is immortal, and only by reaching the state of God consciousness does man enter into immortality. Nature is a myriad of changing, impermanent, ephemeral life forms. Only its informing principle remains. Nature is multiple and is marked by separation. The informing principle is one and is marked by unity. By overcoming the senses and inner selfishness, which is the overcoming of nature, man emerges from the chrysalis of the personal and illusory, and raises his wings toward the glorious light of the impersonal, the region of universal truth, from which all perishable forms arise. Let men, therefore, practice self-denial, conquer their animal inclinations, refuse to be enslaved by luxuries and pleasures. Let them practice virtue and grow daily toward ever higher virtue, until at last they reach the divine and enter into the practice and understanding of humility, meekness, forgiveness, compassion, and love, which practice and understanding constitute divinity. Goodwill brings intuition, and only he who has conquered his personality to maintain a single mental attitude, that of goodwill toward all creatures, is a possessor of divine understanding, and is able to distinguish the true from the false. The supremely good man is, therefore, the wise man, the divine man, the enlightened seer, the knower of the eternal. When you find constant gentleness, enduring patience, sublime humility, graceful speech, self-control, self-forgetfulness, and deep and abundant sympathy, look there for the highest wisdom. Seek the company of that person, for she has experienced the divine, lives in the eternal, and has become one with the infinite. Do not believe in one who is impatient, given to anger, pretentious, who clings to pleasure and refuses to renounce his selfish gratifications, who does not practice goodwill and all-encompassing compassion, for such a person has no wisdom. All his knowledge is vain, and his works and words will perish, for they are based on the transitory. Let man abandon himself. Let him overcome the world. Let him deny the personal. Only by this path can he enter the heart of the infinite. The world, the body, personality are mirages in the desert of time, transitory dreams in the dark night of spiritual sleep. Those who have crossed the desert, those who are spiritually awake, only they comprehend the universal reality in which all appearances dissipate and dreams and illusions are destroyed. There is a great law that demands unconditional obedience, a unifying principle that is the basis of all diversity, an eternal truth in which all the problems of the earth disappear like shadows. To experience this law, this unity, this truth is to enter the infinite, to become one with the eternal. To center one's life on the great law of love is to enter into rest, harmony, peace. To avoid all participation in evil and discord, to abandon all resistance to evil and all omission of good, and to fall back into unconditional obedience to the holy inner calm is to enter the innermost heart of things, to obtain a living and conscious experience of that infinite and eternal principle which must always remain a hidden mystery to the perceptive intellect. Until we experience this principle, the soul is not established in peace, and whoever carries this out is truly wise. Not wise in learning, but in the simplicity of his immaculate heart and his divine humanity. To enter into the experience of the infinite and the eternal is to rise above time, the world, and the body, which form the kingdom of darkness, and it is to establish oneself in immortality, in heaven, and in the spirit, which constitute the empire of light. Entering the infinite is not a mere theory or feeling, but a vital experience that is the result of the assiduous practice of inner purification, when it is no longer even remotely believed that the body is the real man, when all appetites and desires are duly subjugated and purified, when the emotions are calm and the oscillation of the intellect ceases, and a perfect settling is assured, then, and not before, consciousness becomes one with the infinite. Until that moment, childlike wisdom and deep peace are not assured. The dark problems of life tire men and turn them gray, and they finally die, leaving them unresolved because they cannot find a way out of the darkness of personality, for they are deeply mired in its limitations. When he tries to save his personal life, man loses the right to the great impersonal life in truth. By clinging to the perishable, he is excluded from the knowledge of the eternal. By surrendering the self, all difficulties are overcome, and there is no error in the universe that the fire of inner sacrifice cannot burn away like straw. There is no problem, however great, that does not disappear like a shadow under the lantern of self-denial. Difficulties exist only in our own illusions, and they disappear when we renounce the self. I and error are synonymous. Error is wrapped in the darkness of impenetrable complexity, but eternal simplicity is the glory of truth. Love of self separates men from the truth, and seeking their own personal happiness they lose the deepest, purest, and most permanent bliss. Carlyle says, "There is in man something higher than love of happiness. He can do without happiness and yet find blessedness. Love not pleasure, love God. This is the everlasting ye in which all contradictions are resolved, and all is well for him who so walks and works. He who has renounced that self, that personality which is so dear to men and to which they cling so tenaciously, has left all perplexity behind, and has entered into a simplicity so profound that the world, enclosed in its web of errors, considers it foolishness. Yet such a person has experienced the highest wisdom and rests in the infinite. He achieves without striving, and all problems dissipate before him because he has entered the region of reality, and no longer deals with changing effects, but with the immutable principles of things. He is enlightened by a wisdom that is superior to reasoning, just as reason is superior to animality. By renouncing his appetites, his errors, his opinions, and his prejudices, he has entered into possession of the knowledge of God. For he has done away with the selfish desire for heaven, and, along with it, the ignorant fear of hell. By renouncing even the love of life itself, he has acquired supreme bliss and eternal life, that which bridges life and death and knows its own immortality. By renouncing everything without reservation, he has gained everything, and rests in peace in the bosom of the infinite. Only he who is so free from self that he feels equally content to be annihilated and to live, or to live and be annihilated, is prepared to enter the infinite. Only he who, ceasing to trust in his perishable self, has learned to trust unlimitedly in the great law, the supreme good, is prepared to partake of the joy that does not die. For such a person, there is no longer any lamentation, disappointment, or remorse, because where selfishness has ceased, these sufferings cannot be. And he knows that whatever happens to him is for his own good, and he feels content, for he is no longer the servant of self, but the servant of the Supreme. He is no longer affected by the changes of the earth, and when he hears of war, his peace is not disturbed. And when men are angry, cynical, and eager to fight, he radiates love and compassion. Although the appearance may be contradictory, he knows that the world is progressing, and that in its laughter and its weeping, in its life and conservation, in its follies and efforts, weaving in sight and in the invisible, toward the end from the beginning, in virtue and sin, rolled on the great divine spool of progress, runs the golden thread of light. When a fierce storm rages, no one gets angry, because they know it will quickly end. And when the storms of dispute devastate the world, the wise man, looking with the eye of truth and compassion, knows that everything will pass, and that from the broken hearts left behind, the temple of immortal wisdom will be built. Sublimely patient, infinitely compassionate, profound, silent, and pure, his very presence is a blessing. And when he speaks, men ponder his words in their hearts, and through them, they are lifted toward higher achievements. Such is the one who has entered the infinite, the one who, by the power of complete sacrifice, has solved the sacred mystery of life. Questioning life, destiny, and truth, I sought the dark and labyrinthine Sphinx, who told me this strange and wonderful thing. The concealment resides only in the blind eyes, and only God can see the form of God. I tried to solve the hidden mystery by treading paths of blindness and pain in vain, but when I found the path of love and peace, the concealment ended, and I was no longer blind. Then I could see God with the eyes of God. Chapter 6. Saints, Sages, and Saviors, the Law of Service. The Spirit of Love, which manifests as a perfect and consummate life, is the crown of being and the supreme goal of knowledge on this earth. The measure of a man's truth is the measure of his love, and truth is far removed from him whose life is not governed by love. The intolerant and those who condemn, though they profess the highest religion, possess the least measure of truth, while those who exercise patience and listen calmly and dispassionately to all equally, reaching thoughtful and equanimous conclusions regarding problems and favoring them also in others, are the ones who have a greater measure of truth. This is the final test of wisdom. How does a man live? What spirit does he manifest? How does he act when subjected to trials and temptations? Many men who boast of being in possession of truth are continually affected by sorrow, disappointment, and passion, and sink at the first small test presented to them. Truth can only be immutable, and to the extent that man takes a stand regarding it, he strengthens himself in virtue, rising above his passions, his emotions, and his changing personality. Men formulate perishable dogmas and call them truth. It cannot be formulated because it is ineffable, and is always beyond the reach of the intellect. It can only be experienced in practice. It can only manifest in a spotless heart and a perfect life. So, amidst the incessant proliferation of schools, creeds, and parties, who has the truth? He who lives it. He who practices it. He who, overcoming himself, has risen above the proliferation and no longer involves himself in it, but sits apart, quieted, calm, and self-possessed, free from all tension, all deviation, and all condemnation, and radiates upon all the joyful and selfless love of the inner divinity. He manifests the truth who is patient, serene, and gentle, and forgives in all circumstances. Truth will never be proven by arguments and learned treatises, because if men do not perceive it in infinite patience, in undying forgiveness, and in all-encompassing compassion, no word can ever prove it. It is easy for the passionate to remain serene and patient when they are alone or when they are calm. It is equally easy for the charitable to be gentle and kind when treated with kindness, but he who maintains patience and calm in the midst of trials, who remains supremely meek under the most demanding circumstances, he, and only he, is the possessor of unblemished truth. And this is so because these high virtues belong to the divine, and can only be manifested by one who has reached the highest wisdom, by one who has renounced his passionate and selfish nature, by one who has become aware of the supreme and immutable law and is in harmony with it. Therefore, let men cease their vain and passionate arguments about the truth. Let them think, say, and do all that contributes to harmony, peace, love, and goodwill. Let them practice the virtue of the heart, and humbly and diligently seek the truth that frees the soul from all error and sin, from all that ruins the human heart and darkens, like an endless night, the path of the wandering souls of the earth. There is a great all-encompassing law that is the foundation and cause of the universe, the law of love. It has been called by various names in different countries and times, but behind all its denominations, the eye of truth discovers the same unalterable law. Names. Religion's personalities are fleeting, but it remains. To possess the knowledge of this law, to enter into conscious harmony with it, is to become immortal, invincible, indestructible. In the soul's effort to learn this law, men come time and time again to live, to suffer, and to die. And when the soul learns it, suffering ceases, personality vanishes, and carnal life and death are destroyed, because consciousness becomes one with the eternal. The law is absolutely impersonal, and its highest expression is service. When the purified heart has reached the truth, it is called to make one last sacrifice, even greater and holier, the sacrifice of the well-earned enjoyment of the truth. Thanks to this sacrifice, the divinely emancipated soul comes to dwell among men, clothed in a body of flesh, content to dwell among the humblest and to be considered the servant of all humanity. That sublime humility manifested by the saviors of the world is the seal of divinity, and only he who has annihilated his personality and become a visible manifestation of the impersonal, eternal, and limitless spirit of love is chosen to receive the infinite adoration of posterity. Only he who humbles himself with that divine humility, which implies not only the extinction of self, but the pouring out upon all of the spirit of unconditional love, is exalted beyond all measure, and is granted spiritual dominion over the hearts of humanity. All the great spiritual masters have denied themselves personal luxuries, comforts, and rewards. They have abjured temporal power and have lived and taught the limitless and timeless truth. Compare their lives and teachings, and you will discover the same simplicity, the same self-sacrifice, the same humility, love, and peace that they lived and preached. They taught us the same eternal principles, the realization of which destroys all evil. Those who have been acclaimed and adored as saviors of humanity are manifestations of the great impersonal law, and are free from passion and prejudice. Having no opinions or special doctrine to preach and defend, they never tried to convert or proselytize. Living in the highest goodness, the supreme perfection, their only goal was to uplift humanity, manifesting kindness in thought, word, and deed. They stand between personal man and the impersonal God, and are examples of the salvation of self-enslaved humanity. Men who are submerged in self, and who cannot understand that goodness which is absolutely impersonal, deny divinity to all saviors except their own, and therefore introduce personal hatred and doctrinal controversy, and, while defending their personal views with passion, consider each other heretics and infidels, nullifying, as far as their existences are concerned, the beauty and holy greatness of the lives and teachings of their own masters. Truth cannot be limited. It can never be the special prerogative of any man, school, or nation, and when personality enters, truth is lost. The common glory of the saint, the sage, and the Savior is this: they have achieved the deepest humility, sublime selflessness. As they have renounced everything, even their own personality, their works are holy and enduring, because they are free from all stain of self. They give and never think of receiving. They work without lamenting the past or anticipating the future, and never seek reward. When the farmer has tilled and prepared the land, and sown the seed, he knows he has done all he could do, and that now he must trust the elements and wait patiently for the course of time to bring him the harvest, convinced that all his expectations will not affect the result in the slightest. Likewise, he who has attained the truth manifests himself as a sower of seeds of kindness, purity, love, and peace, without expectation, never seeking results, knowing that the existence of the great ruling law produces its own harvest in due time, and that it is both the source of preservation and destruction. Men, not understanding the profound simplicity of a heart deeply free from selfishness, regard their particular Savior as a manifestation of a special miracle, as something entirely separate and distinct from the nature of things, and as a being whom, due to his ethical excellence, humanity can never approach. This attitude of doubt, because that is what it is, regarding the divine perfectibility of the human being paralyzes efforts and binds the souls of men with the resistant cords of sin and suffering. Jesus grew in wisdom and was made perfect through suffering. He came to be what he truly was, just as Buddha and all holy men reached the goal through constant perseverance in self-sacrifice. Once this is recognized, once by vigilant effort and hopeful perseverance you can rise above your lower nature, great and glorious will be the vistas and achievements that open before you. Buddha vowed not to relax his efforts until he reached the state of perfection, and he achieved his purpose. You too can achieve what the saints, sages, and saviors have achieved if you are willing to walk the path they trod and pointed out, the path of self-sacrifice, service, and self-renunciation. The truth is very simple. It says, "Renounce the self, come to me away from all deceit, and I will give you rest." All the mountains of commentaries on the truth cannot hide it from the heart that earnestly seeks righteousness. Truth does not require learning. It can be known despite it, Disguised in many ways by the selfish man who only seeks himself, the beautiful simplicity and clear transparency of truth remains unaltered and full, and the selfless heart enters and partakes of its brilliant radiance. It is not reached by weaving complex theories or constructing speculative philosophies, but by weaving the fabric of inner purity, by building the temple of an immaculate life. Whoever enters this holy path begins to restrain his passions. This is virtue, which is the beginning of holiness, and this, the beginning of blessedness. The worldly man gratifies his desires and practices no more restraint than that required by the law of the land where he lives. The virtuous man restrains his passions. The saint attacks the enemy of truth in the fortress of his own heart and eliminates all selfish and impure thoughts. The holy man is he who is free from passion and all impure thought, and for whom good and purity have become as natural as scent and color to the flower. He is divinely wise. He alone knows the truth in its fullness and has found lasting rest and peace. For him, evil has ceased. It has disappeared in the universal light of total goodness. Holiness is the insignia of wisdom. Krishna said to Prince Arjuna, humility, truthfulness, and harmlessness, patience and honor, reverence for the wise, purity, constancy, self-control, contempt for the delights of the senses, self-sacrifice, perception of the certainty of pain contained in birth, death, aging, sickness, suffering, and sin, and a heart always calm in good fortune and in bad fortune. Resolution in action to attain the perception of the maximal soul, and grace to understand the gains that come with it. This is true wisdom, O Prince, and the rest is ignorance. He who struggles incessantly against his own selfishness and strives to supplant it with all-encompassing love is a saint, whether he lives in a small cottage or amidst wealth and influence, whether he preaches or remains anonymous. For the worldly man who is beginning to aspire to higher things, the saint, like the gentle Saint Francis of Assisi or the conqueror Saint Anthony, is a glorious and inspiring sight. For the saint, an equally lofty vision is that of the sage, who sits serene, conqueror of sin and sorrow, who is no longer tormented by lamentation and remorse, and whom temptation can never reach. But even the sage is drawn by an even more glorious vision, that of the Savior who actively manifests his knowledge in selfless work, and empowering his divinity to do good, sinks into the pulsating, aching, and aspiring heart of a humanity. And this alone is true service, to forget oneself for the love of all, to lose oneself in the work for the whole. O you, foolish and vain man, who believe that your numerous deeds can save you, you who, chained to error, speak loudly of yourself, of your work, and of your many sacrifices, and exaggerate your own importance, know this: even if your flame filled the whole earth, your works would end up returning to dust, and you yourself would be less than the least in the kingdom of truth. Only impersonal work can live. The works of the self are powerless and perishable. When duties, however humble, are done without personal interest and with joyful sacrifice, there is true service and lasting work. When acts, however brilliant and seemingly successful they may be, are done from self-love, the law of service is ignored and the work perishes. The world is offered a great divine lesson to learn, the lesson of absolute selflessness. The saints, sages, and saviors of all times are those who have submitted themselves to this task and have learned and lived it. All the scriptures of the world are made to teach this lesson, and all the great teachers reiterate it. But the lesson is too simple for the world, which, mocking it, stumbles forward along the complex paths of selfishness. A pure heart is the end of all religion and the beginning of divinity. To seek this righteousness is to walk the path of truth and peace, And whoever enters this path will soon perceive that immortality, which is independent of birth and death, and will realize that in the divine economy of the universe, not even the humblest effort is lost. The divinity of Krishna, of Gautama, or of Jesus is the crowning glory of self-abnegation, the end of the soul's pilgrimage in matter and mortality, and the world will not have concluded its long journey until every soul has become like these, and has entered into the blissful experience of its own divinity. Great is the glory that crowns the heights of hope won with ardent struggle. Brilliant honors surround the hoary head of him who has performed great deeds. Beautiful riches fill him who walks the path of golden gain, and fame enthrones the name of him who works with genius. But even greater glory awaits him who, in the bloodless struggle against self and error, adopts with love the life of sacrifice. And brighter honors await the brow of him who, amidst the scorn of the blind worshippers of self, accepts the crown of thorns. Purer and more beautiful riches come to him who strives hard to walk the paths of love and truth to sweeten human lives, and he who serves humanity well exchanges the fleeting flame for the eternal light, joy, and peace, and robes of heavenly flame. Chapter 7. The Attainment of Perfect Peace. In the outer universe there are ceaseless whirlwinds, changes, and unrest. But in the heart of all things there exists an unaltered repose. In that profound silence dwells the eternal. Man partakes of this duality, and both the superficial change and unrest, as well as the abode of peace, are contained within him. Just as there are silent depths in the sea that the fiercest storm cannot reach, there are holy and silent depths in the heart of man that the storms of sin and sorrow cannot alter. To reach this silence and live consciously in it is peace. Discord abounds in the outer world, but in the heart of the universe an unaltered harmony reigns. The human soul, torn by discordant passion and sorrow, blindly rises toward the harmony of the immaculate state, and to reach that state and live consciously in it is peace. Hatred mutilates human lives, fosters persecution, and launches nations into cruel wars. Yet men, though they do not understand why, retain a certain measure of faith in the preeminence of perfect love. To achieve this love and live consciously in it is peace. And this inner peace, this silence, this harmony, this love is the kingdom of heaven, which is so difficult to attain because few are willing to renounce themselves and become as little children. The door of heaven is very small and narrow. It cannot be perceived by foolish men blinded by the vain illusions of the world. And even those with clear sight who discern the path and try to enter find the door closed, which is difficult to open. Its great bolts are pride and passion, greed and lust. Men ask for peace where only discord, unrest, and struggle exist. Apart from that wisdom which is inseparable from self-renunciation, there can be no real and lasting peace. The peace resulting from social comfort, fleeting gratification, or worldly victory is of a transitory nature, and burns away before the heat of a harsh trial. Only the peace of heaven endures trials, and only the heart free from selfishness can know it. Only holiness is undying peace. Self-control leads to it, and the ever-increasing light of wisdom guides the pilgrim on his path. You partake of it to the extent that you enter the path of virtue, but you only reach its fullness when the self disappears in the consummation of a stainless life. This is peace, to conquer the love of self and the appetite for life, to root out the deeply ingrained passion in the heart and to quiet the inner struggle. Oh, reader, if you would attain the light that never perishes, the endless joy, and the tranquility that cannot be altered, if you would leave behind forever your sins, your sorrows, your anxieties, and your perplexities. If you want to partake of this salvation, of this supremely glorious life, conquer yourself. Bring every thought, every impulse, every desire into perfect obedience to the divine power that resides within you. There is no other path to peace than this, and if you refuse to walk it, all your prayers and your strict adherence to ritual will bear no fruit, nor be of any avail, and neither angels nor gods can help you. Only to the victor is given the white stone of the regenerated life, on which is written the new and ineffable name. Step out, for a moment, from the external, from the pleasures of the senses, from the arguments of the intellect, from the noise and excitement of the world, and withdraw into the innermost chamber of your heart. There, free from the sacrilegious intrusion of all selfish desires, you will find a profound silence, a holy calm, a blessed repose. And if you stay to rest a while in that holy place and meditate there, the unfailing eye of truth will open within you, and you will see things as they really are. This holy place is your true and eternal self, the divine within you, and only when you identify with it can it be said that you are clothed and in your right mind. It is the abode of peace, the temple of wisdom, the dwelling place of immortality. Apart from this place of inner calm, this mountain of vision, there can be no true peace or knowledge of the divine, and if you can remain there for a minute, an hour, or a day, you can stay there forever. All your sins and sorrows, your fears and anxieties are yours, and you can cling to or renounce them. Just as you cling to unrest by yourself you will be able to reach permanent peace. No one else can renounce sin for you. You yourself must do it. The greatest teacher can do no more than walk the path of truth for himself and point it out to you. You must walk it. You can only achieve freedom and peace by your own efforts, by renouncing what binds your soul and destroys your peace. The angels of divine peace and joy are always at hand, and if you do not see or hear them, nor dwell with them, it is because you close yourself to them and inwardly prefer the company of evil spirits. You are what you want to be, what you desire to be, what you prefer to be. You can begin to purify yourself, and in doing so, reach peace, or you can refuse to purify yourself and continue to suffer. Step aside, therefore. Get out of the restlessness and fever of life. Move away from the scorching heat of the self and enter the place of inner rest, where the refreshing airs of peace will calm, renew, and restore you. Come out of the storms of sin and anguish. Why live troubled and tossed about by the tempest when the refuge of God's peace is yours? Renounce all searching. Renounce the self, and suddenly the peace of God will be yours. Subdue the animal that dwells within you. Conquer every selfish revolt, every discordant voice. Transmute the base metals of your selfish nature into the pure gold of love, and you will attain the life of perfect peace. O reader, by carrying out this subjugation, this conquest, this transmutation while you are embodied, you will cross the dark waters of mortality and reach the shore where the storms of sorrow never strike, and where sin, suffering, and dark uncertainty cannot reach. Standing upon that shore, holy, compassionate, awake, self-possessed, and joyful with endless joy, you will realize that the Spirit was never born. The Spirit will never cease. Time never was. The end and the beginning are dreams. The eternal Spirit is not born, nor does it die, nor does it change. Death does not touch it at all, though its house may seem dead. Then you will understand the meaning of sin, of pain, of suffering, and that their end is wisdom. You will know the cause and the problem of existence. And with this understanding, you will have rest. For this is the bliss of immortality. This is the unchanging joy, This is the untrammeled knowledge, the stainless wisdom, and the undying love. This, and only this, is the experience of perfect peace. O you, who wish to teach men the truth, have you crossed the desert of doubt? Have you been purged by the fires of sorrow? Have you driven out the cruel judge from your human heart with compassion? Is your soul so beautiful that it cannot harbor any false thought? O you, who wish to teach men love, have you passed through the place of despair? Have you wept in the dark night of grief? Is your human heart, now freed from its pains and cares, moved to compassionate tenderness at the sight of error, hatred, and ceaseless striving? O you, who wish to teach men peace, have you crossed the wide ocean of strife? Have you found the shores of silence, freed from all the wild unrest of life? Has all struggle vanished from your human heart, leaving only truth and love and peace? Thank you for listening to this audiobook until the end. If you enjoyed the content, we invite you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This way, you won't miss our upcoming publications.